It might help you change your mind about how your life, in general, is treating you. When you complain about how little you have, or just take pity on yourself, you must always remember that there are many people in this world that have way less, and that you can still succeed with a little self-determination, and maybe with a tiny amount of luck. Well, just listen to my story. Let me start from the very beginning of my life. I do not remember it, of course, but when I found out, I was sad and happy at the same time. You will soon understand for yourself. Let me explain. You see, my family was so poor that when I was born, my mother and father could not afford to pay the doctor who helped my mother give birth to me. Can you imagine? And you know what happened next? The doctor suggested that they leave me with him as payment for his services. I can only imagine what use he would have had for a newborn child. Luckily for me, my father managed to make some money and also borrowed $1 here, a dime there, and raised the amount I was worth. I grew up as an abundantly energetic child. And to put this energy to use, my father would wake me up at dawn to practice martial arts. We practiced kung fu together, and he also taught me to do simple acrobatics like somersaults and backflips. But as my fighting and acrobatic skills began to take shape, my academic skills fell short. I was dyslexic and never could write properly, so I failed my first year in primary school. And when all my classmates were already entering 3rd grade, I was left behind. So instead, my father decided to enroll me in the Drama Academy at a local theater school. Sounds miraculous, doesn't it? I still remember walking into the musty halls of that school, tightly clutching my father's hand. My fears, if there were any fears at all, disappeared as my eyes gazed upon the dozens of kids, my age and older, somersaulting and playing with swords and sticks. It looked like Disneyland to me, my own version of a magical world. So I very quickly let go of my father's hand and put my little palm into the hand of my new master. But the magic soon wore off, and the true colors of this academy began to show through. I later learned that when a child was enrolled in this school, a contract between the parents and the administration was drawn up according to this agreement, signed by both parties. One of the main clauses was that the parents wouldn't have any recourse in the case that their child was injured or even still signed this agreement, as did the parents of all the other children at the school. There was no miracle for me, neither at school nor at home. Unemployment in my home country rose high, and in order to keep their jobs, my parents, who worked for the ambassador of one foreign country, had to move to Australia as their employer was relocated. Do you think that they took their 8-year-old son with them? No. For you, it might seem terrible that parents would even be able to leave their child behind. But for my family, it was simply a matter of survival. So, my parents left, and I stayed at the Drama Academy, where we had all kinds of training in performance, acrobatics, music, and different kinds of martial arts. It sounds good, but we had to get up at 5 a.m. and train for 15, 16 hours a day. Exercises were sometimes brutal, sometimes simply exhausting. Like, for example, we were performing headstands and somersaults for hours on end, but nobody complained. And also, we could not show that everything was okay either, because if the master thought that somebody was taking the training for granted, they would increase the intensity until we fell down from exhaustion. Corporal punishment and psychological pressure was commonplace at this school, both from our masters and from our own schoolmates. At that time, I wasn't brave and was often picked on by other children at my school. There was no single day that went by without something bad happening. I was very angry. I allowed it to happen because I was scared and didn't know how to defend myself. It continued until I stood up for a new student and defended him. By standing up for him, I learned how to stand up for myself. Our school was a good place for movie companies to search for young stars for their movies. After a year of school, I got lucky to be chosen too. At the age of 8, I was already an episode actor, and by the time I finished school, I had participated in 7 movies already. But I still hardly knew how to read and write. This, however, did not prevent me from getting a job as an episode actor and a stuntman at a low-budget action movie studio. I was 18 by that time. I took any kind of stunt job, and soon I earned a reputation for being fearless. Unfortunately, my good reputation did not make me rich. At least, not at that time. The stuntman fees were so low that I started to starve again. And what could I do? I could have quit this job and moved to Australia, where my father and mother still lived. They might have been surprised to see their son, who they left behind some 10 years ago, but I did not blame them. I knew that it was the way life was. They helped me at the beginning, and soon I was working in restaurants, on construction sites, and I took any job I could to earn enough money to make a living. At one of the construction sites, a fellow worker took me under his wing. His name was Jack, and I got the nickname Little Jack, which was soon shortened to Jackie. This was one of the unhappiest times in my life. Construction work was difficult and boring. So, can you imagine how happy I was to receive a telegram from a guy who was looking for someone fearless to star in a new movie? It turned out that he had seen me a while ago when I was working as a stuntman and had been impressed. This was the time when my reputation for being a fearless guy had finally worked out for me. I called him and we talked. Soon, I was on my way back home to star in an action fighter movie. I was 21 years old. This guy later on became my best friend and manager, and I will always remember to whom I owe my success. We made many movies together. A great part of them were comedies. Why? Maybe because I prefer to smile in this life, no matter how hard it hits you. I told you already that my name is Jackie. Jackie Chan. I can say that now I am one of the best-known Asian actors in the world. I took part in more than 100 movies where I did most of the stunts myself, thanks to the hard training I received at school. And when I have to shoot with younger actors, I share my stories of hardship from my life with them. I constantly remind them that they should always appreciate all that they have, because so many have so little. What do you think about my story?